There are a number of different approaches for dubbing a fly. What I'd like to demonstrate for you is split thread dubbing. I'll use some Australian possum that I've put together into a little clump that I'll insert to inside of the split in the thread. But you're not limited to using furs. You can put in feathers or a variety of different materials, synthetics, whatever you'd like to put into that loop that you can put into it and wind around the hook. But for purposes of demonstration, I'll be using this little clump of fur. Bear in mind that split thread dubbing does not work on every brand of thread that's available. If it's a linear strands of thread, such as I have with this old spool of Gouda that unluckily is no longer available, or Flymaster, or Vivus, or so many other threads that are out there, Lagerton, etc. They are linear strands of thread that can be split, but uni, for instance, cannot be split because it's a bonded thread. It has a crossover fiber that limits the ability for you to split this thread. Now, before we split this thread in two and put our dubbing inside, I want you to remember that every time we take a revolution around the shank of the hook, it creates a clockwise twist in the thread. Also, nearly all thread has a clockwise twist built into the spool itself. We need to remove some of that twist so we have a very flat thread to be able to split apart. So I'm going to run my bobbin holder down, and I'm going to enhance that twist so I can see it. And I'm going to spin my bobbin holder in a counterclockwise direction to remove that twist. Once I have it pretty well flattened out, then I can take a bodkin or a fingernail or whatever works for you and run it up and down to flatten this thread a little bit so I can see where the middle of it is, and then I can take my bodkin and reach inside and simply split that thread. I'm going to separate it apart with my finger. Then I'll take my little clump of fur, simply reach the clump of fur inside of that loop. You can slide it right up to the top or wherever you want it to be. Adjust it according to however you want. Once it's kind of trapped, it's sometimes easier to work with. Slide it up and down, position how you want. If it's a little thick in some areas, you can separate it apart. Adjust however you wish. And again, this is not going to be a gorgeous body. I just want to demonstrate how this approach works. Now, the next question comes to mind. We're obviously going to twist this to keep it together. The question is, do we twist it in a counterclockwise direction or a clockwise direction? I'm going to suggest you twist it in a counterclockwise direction. Every time you put a twist in the thread, it makes the thread want to go one way or the other, either toward the eye or toward the bend. If you put a clockwise twist in the thread, it wants to go toward the eye. The greater the twist, the more it wants to go that given direction. Counterclockwise twist is going to want to go toward the bend. Well, since I'm going to be winding with a very twisted section of thread here, if I have it in a clockwise direction, it's going to want to jump toward the eye. I want those winds to be tightly adjacent, so instead I'm going to twist it in a counterclockwise direction like that in order for it to bind the material or make the winds of material tightly adjacent one another. So I'm going to pinch it near the bottom, and then what you may not see is I'm spinning the bobbin holder in a counterclockwise direction below my fingers that I'm pinching the clump of dubbing. I'm going to spin it quite a bit. Once I get it pretty well spun, I'm going to just let it go. Now you can see it bunches up a little thicker in some areas. You can come back in and kind of tease that out if you want to. However you like. If you want to come in with some sort of a dubbing teaser, a wire brush or something, and tease that up and make it a little bit more fuzzy, you can. Just entirely up to you. If you want a fairly tight body, instead of a loose ball of dubbing or a little clump of dubbing like I had here, you might take your clump of dubbing and simply, let me see if I can do that for you, roll it on your pant leg, and you come up with what Polly Rossborough called his noodle. You put that inside and it becomes a much tighter body. So I'm losing my spin. Let me spin it back together. Now we're ready to go ahead and wind it on. So as we wind it on, you can leave it like it is, or you can take some of these guard hairs, take your fingers and kind of sweep it back. And that keeps them from being bound down over the top of the following wind. Now again, it's not meant to be a gorgeous body. This is just for demonstration purposes. And you'll notice that I have way too much. Not a problem. All you have to do to remove a surplus is simply untwist your thread. Once you get it untwisted, you can reach into the clump and simply begin to pull out the excess fur. Then I like to take one wind off, kind of come back around, grab the fibers, pull them back. Then you come in with a bodkin or whatever you like to do and scuzz this body up or whatever you wish to do to the body. But basically, that's the process of split thread dubbing.